Do you know that the most dangerous animal in the world is called a simple man? You've never heard it. I know that you might be hearing this for the very first time, but there is proof that the most deadly animal in the world is a weak man. And I know that this video might cause a lot of problems if it eventually goes viral, but I'm here for it. Now, I was recently watching a game show called The Survival, and this show is just about literally surviving in the jungle. And it's actually a reality show, but I would like you to go and look for those episodes where the men were competing against the women. Like, the revelation from that episode was shocking, but I will just cut the long story short. Now, the men were separated from the camp of the women. At the beginning of the show, the camp where the men were actually doing great. As they were building their own tents, they were hunting. In fact, they were very organized. And as the show progressed, the harsher the environment was, the more tax that the men were winning. In fact, the women didn't even come close at winning every task because the men were just destroying the women in every task. But it will shock you that at the end of that show, only women were left in that jungle. Like, the women actually won the game. And you might be shocked and wonder, how did they actually do this? Because from the beginning of the show, it was women that were majorly voted out, because whenever you lose the task, one of you had to be voted out from the jungle. I would quickly explain. Now, the men were succeeding because there was hierarchy in their camp. The men organized themselves and knew who was better at each task and who was better at some responsibilities, so they placed those men as the leaders or the captains of those tasks. Now, the men who were weaker in the camp did not actually see this as a problem, as they were all working together as a team. Some individuals functioned as the executives, while the other ones functioned well in cooperating and following the strongest of the men. So the women understood that there was no chance for them to win this show. And smartly, they decided that, okay, the best thing for them to do was to infiltrate the camp of the men. They knew that they couldn't infiltrate the stronger men, so they targeted the weaker males and started telling them that, look, we know that we cannot win, we know. But before you guys start celebrating, after we all have actually been evicted, guess who is going to be evicted next? So they easily convinced these men that it was safer for them to both work together in evicting the stronger males, because at least they would actually now have an equal opportunity and equal advantage to compete against each other. To cut the long story short, this plan actually worked and the stronger males were evicted from the game. Now, you want to guess the next batch that were evicted next? No need. Now, watching this reality show, I just saw the reality of our today's society, because these women were smart enough to use three things. They used fear, they used pity, and they used seduction to convince those weaker men. First of all, the men were scared that they would end up going against the stronger men. Secondly, they started feeling pity towards the women and started looking at them as the weaker vessel. And then the men were also enjoying the flirting and the attention they were getting from these women. And as much as most of you don't want to accept it today, I hope you know that we are actually fighting a gender war, especially in Nigeria. And like they say, all is fair in love and war. So like I said in the beginning of this video, the greatest threat to society is not the misandrist or the toxic feminist. It is actually the weak men. And regardless whether they try to hide it and play neutral, majority, 99% of the women on this app are actually fighting you as a man. Like, listen to them carefully, you will know that they are looking to be in your position, and you have to accept this reality that they know that they don't stand a chance against the traditional masculine men. So what do they want to do? They want to bring down the structure. Now, every single trait that is associated with traditional masculinity is now seen as toxic. When a man is strong, when a man is tough, when a man is stoic, all of this is now called toxic masculinity. I agree that there are some of our cultures and traditions that were negative and they were not fair at all. But majority of it is what built and kept our society sane. Women naturally want strong masculine men. But when they come to social media and they see a man who is painting his nails, a man who is soft and feminine, that is the man that they will now say, oh, this is a real man because he is comfortable in his skin. A real man is no longer defined by the attributes that makes him strong and independent as a man. It is now associated with how he treats a woman or his relationship with a woman. And it is funny because, on the other hand, a real woman is defined as an independent woman, a woman who doesn't need any man in her life. But a gentleman has to be defined by how he treats a woman. But again, like I said, I am more scared for these weak men, because tell me how you would go to a platform and you can clearly see that these people are talking down on your masculinity. People are trying to shame all the attributes that makes you a man, but you are there clapping and cheering. They are openly telling you that God is not even a man, that he is a woman. In fact, some would even say we should change the Lord's Prayer from "Our Father who art in heaven" to "Our Mother who art in heaven." Every single trait that is associated with masculinity is now seen as toxic, while everything that is seen as feminine is now seen positive and associated with strength. When a man is openly crying, when they see a man that is soft, that is the person they want to tell you that is a real man, because accepting your vulnerability makes you a real man. And you men will be cheering them, because some of you actually need followers and some of you are equals hunters. But at the end of the day, just like that story in the jungle, the women actually won. But from that point, the camp was already disorganized. Now, real life is not a game show, because when that game show stops, that is where real life starts. When we have actually destroyed the society and allowed the weaker ones to be in charge.